In this session, we will talk about hardware concepts related to distributed system. Now, there are several different ways in which the hardware can be organized, especially in terms of how they are interconnected and how they communicate. In this session, we will take a brief look at distributed systems hardware, in particular, how the machines are connected together. In the year 1996, Michael J. Flynn proposed Flynn's taxonomy, a method of classifying parallel digital computers. Now, what is this parallel computing? Now, parallel computing is a computing where the jobs are broken into discrete parts and then it can be executed concurrently. Each part is further broken down into series of instructions. Instructions from each part execute simultaneously on different CPUs. Parallel systems deal with simultaneous use of multiple computer resources that can include a single computer with multiple processors, a number of computers connected by a network to form parallel processing cluster, or a combination of both. Parallel systems are more difficult to program than computers with single processor because the architecture of parallel computers varies accordingly and the processes of multiple CPU must be coordinated and synchronized. The first classification proposed by Flynn was SISD, single instruction, single data. An SISD computing system is a uniprocessor machine which is capable of executing a single instruction operating on a single data stream. In SISD, machine instructions are processed in a sequential manner, and computers adopting these models are popularly called as sequential computers. Most conventional computers have SISD architecture. All the instructions and data to be processed have to be stored in the primary memory. The next classification is SIMD, which is single instructions, multiple data systems. An SIMD system is a multiprocessor machine which is capable of executing the same instruction on all the CPUs, but operating on different data streams. Machines based on an SIMD model are well suited for scientific computing, since they involve a lot of vector and matrix operations. The next classification is MISD, that is multiple instruction, single data systems. An MISD computing system is a multiprocessor machine capable of executing different instructions on different processors, but all of them operating on the same data set. The system performs different operations on the same data set. Machines which are built using the MISD model are not useful in most of the applications. A few machines are built, but none of them are available commercially. Now, in this case, for example, we calculate sin of x, cos of x, and tan of x. So this is one single operation, but sin of x will be calculated on this processor, cos of x will be calculated on this processor, and tan of x will be calculated on some other processor. So basically, it is working on the same data item. And the final classification is MIMD, that is multiple instructions, multiple data systems. An MIMD system is a multiprocessor machine which is capable of executing multiple instructions on multiple data sets. Each processor in the MIMD model has separate instructions and separate data streams. Therefore, machines built using these models are capable to any kind of application. Unlike SIMD and MISD machines, the processors in MIMD machine work asynchronously. We'll have a look at the classification of MIMD. Now, MIMD can be further classified as multiprocessor and multi-computers. We will see multiprocessors and multi-computers in detail. Starting with multiprocessor. Now, what is a multiprocessor? A multiprocessor is a computer system with two or more central processing units which share or which have an access to a common RAM. Now you can see in this figure there are multiple CPUs, but all the CPUs are accessing this particular shared memory. So this is the architecture of multiprocessor. Moving towards multi-computer. A multi-computer system is a computer system with multiple processors that are connected together to solve a problem. Each processor has its own memory and it is accessible by that particular processor. And those processors can communicate with each other via an interconnection network. So you can see there are multiple CPUs over here, and each CPU can connect or can interact with other CPU through this interconnection network. Each CPU in this case is having its own local memory. So this is the structure of multi-computers. Let's have a look at the taxonomy of parallel and distributed system. So we just spoke about MIMD. Okay. So MIMD can be further classified as multiprocessors and multi-computers. We have already seen that multiprocessors have a shared memory and multi-computers have a private memory. Now, multiprocessors are usually tightly coupled systems, whereas multi-computers are loosely coupled systems. We'll have a look at tightly coupled and loosely coupled system as we move ahead. Multiprocessor systems can be further classified as bus-based and switch-based. With respect to multi-computers also we have the same classification, bus-based and switch-based multi-computers. Now, what is this loosely coupled and tightly coupled system? Look at this figure here. There are nodes, okay, and there's some kind of flow, bidirectional flow between these nodes. Look at this diagram over here. The same nodes are closely connected to each other. So if you look at this particular system over here, there is less interdependency, there's less of coordination and less of information flow as compared to this figure, where there is more interdependency, more of coordination and more of information flow. So this is a broad description of loosely coupled system and tightly coupled system. Now in tightly coupled system, the delay experienced when a message is sent from one computer to another is short and the data rate is high. That is, the number of bits per second that can be transferred is large. Whereas in loosely coupled systems, it is the opposite. The inter-machine delay is large and the data rate is low. Now let's consider an example. Let's assume that there are two CPU chips on the same printed circuit board and are connected by wires etched onto the board, so they are likely to be tightly coupled. Whereas two computers connected by a 2400 bits per second modem over the telephone system are certainly loosely coupled systems. So this is another example of loosely coupled and tightly coupled system. Now tightly coupled systems tend to be used more as parallel system, usually working on a single problem, and loosely coupled ones tend to be used on distributed system, usually working on many unrelated problems. Now in my earlier slides I mentioned about bus based and switch based. Let's have a look at what is this bus based systems. By bus we mean that there is a single network or a backplane or a cable or other medium that connects all the machines. Now, for example, a cable television uses a scheme like this. The cable company runs a wire down the street and all the subscribers have taps running to it from their television sets. So this is a simple example of bus based systems. Moving towards switch based systems. Switch systems do not have a single backbone like cable television. Instead, there are individual wires from machine to machine with different wiring patterns in use. Messages move along the wires with an explicit switching decision made at each step to route the message along one of the outgoing wires. This is just an example of these systems. Now we will see more in detail about bus-based multiprocessor. A bus-based multiprocessor consists of some CPU, which are all connected to a common bus along a memory module. A bus has 32 to 64 address lines, to 64 data lines, and 32 or more control lines, all which operate in parallel. Now we'll see how the reading and writing is taken care in bus-based multiprocessor. The read process, or reading a word of memory. First, the CPU puts the address of the word it wants on the bus address lines. Then it puts a signal on the appropriate control line to indicate what it wants to read. Finally, the memory responds by putting the value of that word on the data lines to allow the requesting CPU to read it. Now this is how the read operation is carried on a bus-based multiprocessor. Next, we will see how write is performed on bus-based multiprocessor. Now we have already seen that there is a single memory in bus-based multiprocessor. Now in this case, a CPU, let's assume an example. We have CPU A which writes a word to memory, and then CPU B reads the word back a microsecond later. So B gets the value that was just written. So a memory with this property is called as coherent. Now what are the problems that are associated with bus-based multiprocessor? Now we assume that there is a system, a bus-based multiprocessor, where there are only 4 to 5 CPUs. Now, in this case, the system will get overloaded. Now, what is the solution? A solution is we can add a high-speed cache between the CPU and the memory. Okay, so we have placed a cache between the CPU and the memory. Now, this cache holds the most recently accessed words. All the memory requests go through the cache. If the word requested is there in the cache, then the cache itself responds to the CPU and no memory buses required. If the cache is large, the probability of success will be very high. That means the heat rate will be high. So the bus traffic per CPU will drop in this case. The second problem. Now suppose there are two CPUs, CPU A and CPU B. Each of it read the same word into their respective cache. I have taken a small example over here. I have assumed that there is a variable P when the value is read is 5. Here the same variable is read when the value is 5. Now CPU A overwrites the word. So now the value of P is 50. When B reads the word, it gets the old value from its cache, not the value A wrote. In this case, the memory is incoherent. So what is the solution? All caches constantly monitor the bus. Whenever a cache sees a write occurring to a memory address present in the cache, it either removes that entry from its cache or will update the cache entry with a new value. So now you can see the value of P is 15 here. Moving towards switch-based multiprocessor. Now, in this switch-based multiprocessor, if we want to build a processor with more than 64 processors and have to connect all the processors to a memory module, okay, assuming that there are 64 processors and all the 64 processors are to be connected to different memory modules, then in this case, we use something called as cross-point switch, wherein each processor is connected to each memory. At every intersections, there is a tiny electronic cross-point switch that can be opened or closed in terms of hardware. Now, if two CPUs are trying to access the same memory simultaneously, one of them will have to wait. The downside of the switch-based multiprocessor is that with n CPUs, n memories, cross-point switches are required. A solution to this problem is we make use of an omega network. Now, what is this omega network? Okay. Omega networks looks something like this. You can see the same switch-based multiprocessor is converted into omega network. Here there are 4 processors, here also there are 4 processors, and here there are 4 memory modules, here also there are 4 memory modules. But with respect to switching, it is only 4 switches. At each stage there are 2 switches. Now how do we construct this omega network? It is simple. Before going to the formula, okay, you can observe that it requires only few number of switches. Okay, and each switch in this case is having 2 inputs, 2 outputs, 2 inputs, 2 outputs. So the formula for omega network. So in general case, with n CPUs and n memories, the omega network requires log to the base to n switching stages. Each stage containing n by 2 switches, for a total of n log to the base to n divided by 2 switches. So you follow these formulas to design a omega network. Moving towards multi-computers, that is bus-based multi-computers. Now in this case, each CPU has a direct connection to its own local memory. And the communication is between CPU to CPU on a network. A switched multi-computers can be in form of a grid. Grids are easy to understand and can be easily laid out on a printed circuit board. They are best suited to problems that have an inherent two-dimensional nature, such as graph theory or vision. For example, robot eyes or analyzing photographs. In those cases, a grid can be used. Another structure is a hypercube. A hypercube is an n-dimensional cube. As you can see in the figure, it is 4-dimensional. It can be thought of as 2 ordinary cubes, each with 8 vertices and 12 edges. Each vertex in this case is a CPU. Each edge of the 2 cubes are connected. Now for an n-dimensional hypercube, each CPU has n connections to other CPUs. Thus, the complexity of wiring increases only logarithmically with the size. Since only nearest neighbors are connected, many messages have to make several hops to reach their destination. However, the longest possible path also grows logarithmically with the size, in contrast to the grid, where it grows as the square root of the number of CPUs. Thank you.